Today is August 10th, and I'd like to call this board in order. We're starting with the Pledge of Allegiance. You can all stand for the flag, please.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. Thank you all who are here in attendance, and thank you for wearing your masks. Okay. Can everybody hear me okay? I know sometimes with the mask it can muffle a voice. So, has everybody had a chance to review the minutes?
Yeah, I'm fine with it.
Okay. Can I get a motion?
Do we have manifests?
Manifest, yeah. I've already called for the minutes, so why don't we just go ahead and do the minutes now?
Make sure call to approve the minutes on 7/27.
Second.
Motion and second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, manifest, everybody had a chance to review those?
Yeah, nothing. I didn't see anything unusual.
Can I get a motion for that?
Make a motion to approve the accounts payable manifest of August 10th, 2020, and the payroll manifest August 11th, 2020.
Second.
Okay, the motion and second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Unanimous. Okay, assigning boards and committees. Budget?
I haven't had a meeting since the last time, so nothing to report.
All right. Planning board?
Wednesday night.
All right. CIP?
Nope.
All right. 300th?
300, they had their first Zoom meeting, I think, but I think, I wasn't.
No, it's scheduled for the 30th.
They had something going around, because they had minutes of something. so
Yeah.
I think they gotta,
I'm going to set that up for them. The Zoom piece anyways.
Marston?
I've got nothing. I don't know if there's, nothing.
All right. Town administrator report.
All right, Ledge Farm, the last phase of the approved work, starting this week, if not today. I didn't go over today, but it was imminent. Doing the repair that we identified this spring, as well as the top coat paving for the section that we done last year. That'll be put to bed in about 3 weeks total, maybe a little less. So it's going to be closed many weekdays between now and then. They don't need to close it, they won't, but and emergency services will be able to do out. Signs went up for that last week, so hopefully everybody move out before they start being the highway's also swapping the culvert out on Smoke Street, which will be down in one lane for a day or two this week. It will remain passable, just down to one lane. The rec department's been watching the school closely, trying to figure out how they can make the after-school program work that they took over last year. It's looking like it's going to be very difficult to fit within the school's protocols and processes and run a program over there. They've tried to find a way to run a comparable program over here, but can't figure out the transport from one to the other. You can imagine equipment buses or whatever in schools, we can't undo that in the process of shipping kids across town. So they're dodging and weaving and trying to figure it out. It's looking like it's going to be hard to pull it off with after school and before school care. They're trying to find ways to make things work for the, it's looking like the school, if you aren't paying attention to the school side of things, it looks like they're in school for 2 and remote learning for 2. And the rec's trying to find ways that they can help fill that time gap and get the kids some, exercise and anything like that on those remote days or on the days that there is no school, remote in school. they're trying, just haven't figured out how to pull it off yet. And, you know, the news is coming as fast as I'm sure the school can deliver it, but
Yeah.
it's gonna be tough.
What is it about the school protocols that's making it difficult?
The hardest part is that, well, I mean, cut the population in half, so the math gets harder from a financial point of view. Even being willing to not break even on the program, as we understand what the school's doing at this point, is they have classroom cohorts that are staying together throughout their entire time at the school.
Yeah,
And we can't maintain, our rec program can't maintain those same cohorts at the end of the day because, you know, it's only so many kids, and if you have, say, one out of 10 kids in the school takes part in an after-school program, then you have a cohort of 2 or 3 kids, and you have to have a staff person for each cohort of 2 or 3 kids in order to protect those cohorts that exist
Oh,
within
right,
the school
okay.
building all
so
day.
you can't put the kids all together.
So if we were to come in, and the school wouldn't want us to do this, probably wouldn't let us do this, if you were to say, take all the 5th graders and mash them together into one group, as we would do in a typical rec program, we will have
Yep.
mashed together all of their cohorts that
Yeah.
just worked all day to try and
Yep.
maintain. So
Yep,
that's the biggest obstacle to doing something there. There are several. The
Yeah, yeah.
gym is just one room in those protocols. So in order to maintain separation, you know, you just run out of rooms, and they have that cohort problem. So those are the 2 big ones. And there's just no way around that math. You can't.
how are they handling the buses, you know?
I don't. Parents, you know what they're doing with?
It's a question I had posed, I haven't got an answer.
Yeah, they may not have published the answer.
No, not as of yet, but I'm just curious as to, you know, I mean, this is something we can pose to them at a later date as well, is that, you know, if half the population are going into school one day and the other half come in on the next day, consolidating routes, because I know last year they had an issue with maybe 1 or 2 routes with not having enough bus drivers, you know. That being said, this may be a way for them to, you know, not necessarily bring on more bus drivers, but consolidate routes to perhaps meet the demand.
Yeah, I think they're probably cutting the capacity of the buses at
Yeah.
the same time they're doing this, so. you know,
Yeah.
If there's one kid in each window seat or whatever,
Right.
whatever it is, and your effective capacity is 20-something.
Yeah,
You
So-
know, we've even explored, you know, do we try and use our rec van, you know, and,
Yeah.
you know, do transit that way, but you run into the same mashing
Right.
over at the school, where when do we take responsibility for those kids? We can't mash them all together on school property, you know.
that's what I was trying to figure out, is if whatever protocol they had for buses, for getting the kids to school, if we could mimic that for getting them from the school to here, you know?
Not without a school bus.
No, I know,
Yeah.
and so they won't allow that on the school bus.
We've asked, you know, is there anything we can, you know, that the school can do to help us with that transit question? As you can imagine, would wreak havoc on bus routes to have to, you know, bring something over here, but they haven't closed that door yet.
Yeah.
That's an open question for them. I think realistically, we probably can't expect a miracle there, but.
Well, it's almost like they're developing another route, even though it's just from the school to here, it's considered another bus route, and they may not have the personnel for that.
Yeah, I'm just trying to figure out if there's a way, because of all the parents that are gonna have trouble,
Absolutely.
Yeah.
particularly with this schedule, I'm just trying to figure out, you know, do you add an extra special bus that handles just that, you know, transportation? Because they're gonna be mixing their cohorts on the buses anyway, right, to and from school?
I would think so, but I you know.
Yeah, okay.
So, you know, Courtney's been over to speak with the principal. They're working together, communicating as much as they can. Obviously, the school officials are buried, but,
Yeah,
you know, communication lines are open. They want it to work, we want it to work.
okay.
It's working as well as it can. It just may not come to a workable solution. And obviously, it's a flexible thing. It's, you know, the school's going to get into whatever they're doing and learn something works well and something doesn't work well. They're going to adapt, and our people will, you know, continually try to find something that works. So.
Yep.
And of course, this is all subject to change depending on the severity of this pandemic.
Right, if we all go home, this is all moot anyway.
Yeah.
So Rec's gonna communicate, there's a lot of parents waiting to hear, obviously, they've been waiting to hear what their school schedule's gonna be, and then what's the,
Yeah.
what's available to them otherwise. They're gonna communicate as fast as they can with whatever they have, but,
Yep.
some of it's waiting to hear from school, and hiring's tough, right? Our typical after-school employee is a high school student. And that whole world, that's all broken too, so
Yeah.
Rec is juggling that. How do we staff it along with all the other things?
Well, I'm sure Courtney's doing whatever she can.
They're pulling their hair out.
Yep.
And then last on my list, the townwide revaluation. Letters are leaving Avatar tonight with revised property values, so those will start to show up in mailboxes probably Wednesday. Just as a reminder, that process, the initial revised property value will be in that letter. Residents can look over that information, make sure everything's accurate in terms of their property. If they want to discuss that revised valuation with Avatar, that letter will have instructions on how to set an appointment to do that. Most of those will be remote appointments. I think they're still holding on to an in-person appointment window. That will all happen through the course of August. So everybody will have a chance to talk to the assessors if they want to. The total evaluation, if you look at the total valuation of the town in 2019 was around $625 million. The early number on this reval is $835 million-ish. So a significant increase in property valuations townwide. We don't have any data yet on what's the average property or what types of properties moved or any of that stuff. We don't have that data yet, but it's a quarter to a third increase in property values townwide. We did not have 200 million in new development.
Right.
But we were under-assessed anyway.
We've known we were under-assessed for a couple of years now.
Yeah.
This is probably a bigger jump than we might have guessed, but
Yeah.
the market's been bananas, so.
No, undervalue or not, that much of an increase certainly hurts.
Well, it doesn't. It
The
doesn't
taxpayer.
hurt, townwide, it doesn't matter. What this changes, what the revaluation will change is the distribution of the tax burden within town. So the tax rate is going to go down, people's property values are gonna go up. But, again, that's the only data point we have, but, so people know when they get their letters, it's probably gonna go up, it's probably gonna go up quite a bit. Everyone's is, so. That's where that sits. We'll get you more data as it becomes available. Obviously, they go through that process and refine it, they learn more about the properties and make adjustments, but that'll happen over the next 6 to 8 weeks. And that is all I have for you.
Okay. Thank you, Chris. Action items reviewed from last meeting, the permit process. We touched base on that. I see that we have a special event license here. Have we looked into some of maybe our surrounding towns? Deerfield, Newmarket?
From a process point of view, our planner's gonna help us out with developing something. They may be looking at a couple of pieces of the ordinance at the same time, but we're gonna, we'll get some help from her and, develop something that'll work for more than just one flavor of event.
Okay, and then, but in this process, we'll be spelling out how many porta johns for X amount of people, how many security or law enforcement per people, fire apparatus.
I don't know if we get to that level of detail in a policy. We may point to other, you may say, okay, what does this body say you need for that thing? If it's, what does the state health department say you need for
Mhm.
X, then we'll point to that rather than put in an R ordinance. I think it would probably be structured more like that, but
Yep.
it's gonna be more of a checklist of all the types of things you need to see. Some will be applicable to all events and some won't be, but, you know, ideally, when we get to this, the staff can put together a checklist-like thing and bring it to you and say, these are we checked all these things off, these are the open questions, are you comfortable with this kind of event or not? So it's not a big problem. So that's where we're headed. That's gonna take a little while to finalize.
Okay. Is it, all right, I guess we'll just move right into assessing. Everybody have a chance to review the report of cut or excavation lot?
Do we have a copy of that?
It was sent in an email, wasn't it, Chris?
Yeah, that would have come from Kelly.
Okay.
And unfortunately, I wasn't able to get online, but I did see the paperwork. Did you see it, Donna, by chance?
Yeah.
You okay with it?
Yep.
John?
Yep.
Tony?
Yeah.
Tyler?
Get online.
All right. Somebody want to make a motion for it?
I'll make a motion that the board approve the report of cut or excavation for map 58, lot 7.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All approved? All in favor?
Aye.
All right. It's unanimous? Okay, moving right in.
And also on assessing, if I can jump in.
Sure.
I wrote to you all at the end of last week, you had a request from somebody who had an application before you for an abatement that you dealt with in May. That applicant has asked to come back and discuss it with you, and I told them I needed to hear from you process-wise. You want to have that conversation, or since you already handled that item, you want to stand with the decision that you made in May?
Does the applicant have any new information, or does he just want to rehash it?
I didn't get into that level of detail. It doesn't seem like there's new information. There may be a new presentation of that information, but you've already seen the application, so you know
Right.
the facts, I think. This one seems to be an interpretation of law question as much as it is facts on the ground.
You didn't get the right response from Avatar?
Avatar gave you a recommendation
Right,
that you
I know.
followed in May.
Right.
And
You didn't question them?
Yeah, unless something has significantly changed since we last looked at it, I wouldn't be inclined to want to rehear it. That's just my 2 cents.
Tyler, your thoughts?
Stick with Avatar.
John?
Same.
Okay.
that's all I need.
All right. Now we're on to general business. PLIA Lake Coast funding request. Evening.
Hello. All right, do you guys have the, I suppose I should state my name for the record, right? Deanne Decker, PLIA Lake Coast. The email that I sent you guys?
Yep.
Okay, I have a couple of updated numbers for you. Today was payroll, so the numbers I'm gonna give you are as of today, just so that you have the most up-to-date of everything. Let's see, so the PLIA has sent an additional $5,050 for payroll to New Hampshire Lakes. That is on the sheet that I had sent you because we had already sent that. The remainder that we have is $3,670.02. That's reflecting today's payroll.
I'm sorry, are you updating this?
I'm updating this.
Okay, where's the 3,000 go?
Okay, so On the estimated funds remaining, that's 3670. The totally hourly paid out, this is the number of hours, is 1,313. The total match hours, which is down at the bottom, is 250. I was not very good about keeping my hours recorded, so I dumped them all at once. And just, this was not on this sheet, but I think I put it in the email. Year to date, in 2019, we had done 7,169 inspections. We are currently at 10,970. So the lake's been really busy.
10,000 inspections.
10,000 inspections.
10,900.
10,970.
So let's call 11,000 inspections.
Almost,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah,
And that-
versus 7,100 or 7,200 last year.
And that's the in and out, so it's 5,000.
It's in and out, and it's Horse Island,
Yep,
the canoe launch, and Fundy.
yep.
Yeah, so that's a difference of about 3,900 inspections. We are running a little bit higher payroll-wise than I expected, and that is because we have to do this data entry. And so the data entry for having that many more inspections is definitely running higher. So what I'm here to request tonight is additional funds for the Lake Coast program from the town.
Dee, could you clarify the 10,050 that says current contributed by the town of Nottingham, 5,000, so they approved 5,050 after your last visit, right?
Right,
Okay.
and the current would be if you approve the full 500, it just so my calculations and the rest of the spreadsheet worked. If you approve the full 5,000 tonight that we're requesting, that would be the 10,050 at the bottom would be current funds by the town.
Because we've already done the 550.
Because they've already done the 550 and then we're asking for 5. And what we need to, based on the current schedule, is 3,890, 3,900 approximately to make, for what we have scheduled. The other thing that's making us run a little high this year is we haven't had any rain. So usually we have a little buffer in there because of rain dates, and we haven't had any rain. So not only has it been incredibly busy, but we don't have those normal, they're not at the ramp because of rain. So that's why things are running a little bit high this year. Do you have any questions?
Anybody have any questions? No? Okay.
Looking for a motion, or are you looking?
No, I mean, if nobody has any questions or comments in regards to this, just one quick question, and again, I totally get the rain situation, it's been beautiful as far as that goes, but how much do you think this could be just the fact that everybody's at home and they're looking for things to do, and they're actually, let's take a boat out and go out on the lake?
Oh, absolutely. There's no doubt that the number of kayaks and canoes and paddle boards has significantly increased over years. In fact, we had a couple of days up at the state park, and now the state park is running by reservation and at limited capacity. And we did over 150 inspections up there for day use people. That's like unheard of numbers up there. So yeah, it's definitely playing into that too. That's a big part of it.
Dee, how is this going to position you for the rest of the year?
What do you mean?
Well, the $5,000 plus the additional funds that are coming from PLIA, how is that going to carry you through the rest of the year?
I'm hoping it would leave us with a little bit extra left over. That we should not, that this should be it as far as requests. And for what I have scheduled for Lake Coast Now, what I have budgeted for Lake Coast Now through Columbus Day is included in that number of the shortfall being 3,900.
So this budget's really going to Columbus Day.
This goes to Columbus Day.
That's it.
Yep. And don't forget, most of our lake hosts go back to college at the end of August. They're going back.
I'll make a motion, we approve the additional $5,000 for the Pawtuckaway Lake Host Association, Pawtuckaway Lake. Program. You know what I mean.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
All right.
Aye.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Chief. All right. Election prep. Bonnie.
Do we,
Number 7, you want,
do you need action on this?
yeah, you can do that on general business.
Can we do that now?
What? Deputy?
Yeah.
Yeah. Mhm.
The, I don't know if you want to talk about it before I make a motion.
Does everybody know who the, okay, the deputy clerk, anybody have any comments? No questions or anything like that?
I think
No?
it's good we got people stepping up to
Yeah, no, it's great.
take these positions, so.
She's gonna have some big shoes to fill for sure. Okay,
I'll make a motion, the select board approve the appointment of Teresa Bascom as deputy town clerk.
Second.
we have a motion and a second, all in favor?
All right.
Unanimous? Thank you, Donna. Well, it's 7 o'clock, I guess we'll just roll right into the school planning committee.
Who's here for school planning?
Come on up.
Down.
This is Debbie Ricker, and my name is Jason Spear. We're both members of the School Board Planning Committee, as you say, members at large. And so the School Board Planning Committee was formed because Stratford, the school system, is leaving our SAU, which you're probably all familiar with. The result of that, of course, is that then the superintendent's office and its very expensive budget of well over $1.1 million is now going to be split between two towns. So we're exploring options of basically how to get this in control for our town, as well as increase local control. One of the things the planning committee is trying to consider is, could we look to move possibly the superintendent's office, from where it is in Northwood, to possibly this building? And what would that renovation cost look like? That's one option we're exploring, because we do pay $50,000 a year for the current superintendent's office renting. So it's not really the most efficient use of funds when you think about we have the town space. The question is what will it cost to renovate? Is it even an option for the board to consider? The other things we're looking at is there's several folks, I guess I call it repeating services of payroll, accounting, business services. We see a lot of duplicates between what the school's doing and the town. And we'd like to explore looking into that a little bit deeper to see if there's ways that we could possibly combine, again, if the town has an appetite for something like that. Overall, trying to reduce costs so that basically we have more funds to work with. That's essentially the summary. And so from there, we want to get you guys your feedback and thoughts, and then what you would consider us doing next.
So I just have a quick question. With Stratford leaving the SAU, and it's just Northwood and Nottingham, it's
Yes.
expected that Nottingham is going to pick up the bulk of the expenses? Is that
It's going to
correct?
be essentially 50-50, where it was being split three ways when you think about student headcount, essentially is how they were doing it. Now
Okay,
it's,
but as a town, we have more students than, say, Northwood,
yes.
so...
So we're going to, as a percentage, we would be picking up more of Stratford's, do you remember the exact number?
Yeah,
was
it puts us at like 59%,
Yeah,
where Northwood would cover the other 41.
yep.
So we're looking at, do we stay with Northwood? Do we move independently? Or do we go try to team up with another district? Part of all of that is, if
What-
we move, can we move here?
Yep.
Can we share services? Can we absorb?
So when you say, when you move here,
The SAU building.
to this building? Where would you suggest we have that?
Well, from our understanding is there was some space out back.
Yeah,
that was-
have you been back there?
We knew there was a cost.
Very long time.
We knew there was, that's,
It'd be cheaper to tear that section down than it would be to renovate it and make
Okay.
it more habitable. It's not that I'm deterring
Yeah.
anything, because I sure like to see something happen to that building, whether we rehab it or use it for, or tear it down, rather. But I don't think that's a feasible option right now, considering the shape and condition of which that building is in right now. And I'd be more than happy to let you take a peek in, but I wouldn't go any further than that, so you have an idea of what's going on back
Yeah.
there.
Yeah, I don't think we could, I don't think that's a viable option.
Right.
Are there any other, like, there's no other space in this building.
yeah.
Or like the old town hall,
Well,
the
that's-
upper offices,
that's where I
the
was
Dane
headed.
building, can
Okay.
we make that into a functioning office administrative space?
That was gonna be our second question.
Well, but have you been over there lately? I mean,
I've never set foot
Tyler,
in the Dane
you've
building,
recently
but
been there. I mean, there's a lot that needs to be done to that building as well to bring it up to
Right.
code, especially the second floor.
Upstairs, second floor.
Yeah.
But is it
But
The
something,
old offices all need to be redone. They're not in any shape.
Not even
and-
insulated.
Right. But comparing that cost to the cost of either, you know, assuming a 60% share of SAU costs,
Do
No.
we know, sorry.
right?
And we do know it is, we're paying $50,000 a year for this building, so,
For what
Wait.
building?
for the superintendent's office. That's what we pay per year, just to rent that space in Northwood, so,
that doesn't count the superintendent's salary or any of that?
no, that's still, that's part of the one,
And
That's just rent?
that's just rent.
we're looking for a new superintendent, correct?
Yes, we have, I believe they extended an offer to somebody who's temporary for, an intern for 1 year. Oh, it's all in flux. Everything's in flux, unfortunately.
Can we go back? So, question to Chris. Is there any other space that you can conceivably think of, even if it was something that might need like $30,000 or $40,000 of improvement that the school would oversee?
How many people do you need to house?
So realistically, it hopefully won't be more than 4 to 5. I mean, it's not a huge space, but,
So we have, just to put it to scale for you, we have on the right-hand side, basically all of our administrative space for the town is on the right-hand side of this hallway.
Yeah.
You can think of it as all the various offices. We've got 12 workspaces there, so that's to put it to scale for you, it's half again, and, you know, we're, in some places, we have more space than we need. You know, my office is too big. I don't know what else you do with it, but, you know.
Yeah, but it's also used as meeting space.
Yeah, but, you know, so anyway, just to put it to scale, it's half again-ish of what we're using now. So it's a big, it would be a big increase in the use of space. Certainly worth, you know, jawbone and ways we can do things differently. If we were to take functions out of this building, it would be easy. Extending this building will be challenging because of septic in particular.
Yeah.
There is an old septic system of some sort for the back building back there, but it's old enough that, you know, you'd be starting from scratch. in that
Yeah, yeah.
regard.
gotcha.
What did you mean when you just said if we were taking functions out of the building?
I mean, well, obviously, you know, you move the police department, create a new police station, presto magico. you're-
Yeah.
So there's really big crazy stuff like that.
Yep.
If you were to move any of the, and I haven't thought about this, I'm just telling you, I didn't get
Yeah,
there. You take some of the administrative functions out of this building, put them somewhere else. You could create all kinds of space, you could move the food pantry and create space. You could give up some, the last room in this hallway is what we call the community room. It's kind of a catch-all, it isn't really conditioned, it's kind of half storage, half,
Yeah.
you know.
But that could be easily converted to office space with relatively,
Yeah, in the scale that
How
that
large
we're
is
talking
that
about,
room?
that,
How large is that room?
that room is about, yeah, it's a little bigger than this one probably.
Which room is that?
We call it the community room.
Where the scouts meet?
To make that viable in terms of what, you know, what happens in this building already, we would probably have to find more activity space, perhaps at the school. You know, if there were activities that take place here that could take place at the school instead. You know, I'm just riffing.
Sure, yeah, no.
So you're talking like scout meetings
Right,
and?
that kind of
yeah.
stuff
Yeah.
that,
So,
How often is it used, do you know?
during camp seasons and things, it's most, like, when there are camp-like activities going on here, that's when it gets the most use.
Yeah, yeah.
We'd have to really sit down and talk through that with rec, but it's, that's the scale of stuff that we could talk about in this building. The old town hall, the upstairs is out of reach, fire code, we've locked it. We don't allow anybody up there, that's not viable. The downstairs, the water and sewer are a concern there. That's not enough space in the old office areas. The old town hall has the big hall, the meeting room that has an accessory add-on there. That's not enough for 5 people. So as a standalone thing, probably wouldn't work.
Wouldn't work.
We're happy to walk you around these things
Oh,
and
yeah.
show you what the starting points are.
Just out of curiosity, what are the 4 to 5 positions? I mean, obviously superintendent.
Superintendent, and he or she would have an administrative, they always need one of those,
Yeah.
and typically, we're thinking about an HR/business services person, we're the payroll, we know of those for sure, and then there's a possibility of, what do they call this, student services director?
Which is like special education.
And all of that. And then, and within all these roles, there is someone, the superintendent, most of the funding from the state comes through a grant process. So one of those folks has to be helping to manage a lot of those grants. And that's why we're looking also at people. What would our own district look like? Who could we combine, different models? That's why I was saying 4 to 5 kind of is falling within one of those models. And one of those people might end up actually at the school themselves.
Because
Might be a better place.
if you had one full-time superintendent for 3 towns, do you still have a full-time person for Nottingham alone?
Well, for that, we were thinking
It'd
half-time.
probably be part-time.
Some type of half-time position.
Okay.
So what happens if we were to decided to split off and be our own SAU?
That's
That's what we're
what we're really strongly
but
looking at.
if we'd absorb all that, though.
Yeah,
Right.
Yes.
that's what they're going for.
So we're trying to figure out the numbers, because right now, we're responsible for approximately $650,000 of the superintendent budget. That's what we're looking at, coming as soon as Stratford leaves. Can we do it as a town for less and get more? That's what we're hoping.
Get more control over those funds.
Yep.
And then also looking at the town, can we share some business services? Can we share payroll? Can we share things?
What do you think about that, Chris?
Is that feasible?
Yeah,
You do?
we floated that before. We held off on buying new accounting software last year because we were waiting for the school district to get through its transition of its accounting software, because we were headed toward buying the same system
Yeah.
that they, but their experience wasn't great, so we pulled back, so.
So you think we could do that with existing resources?
Well, we have to think through a whole bunch of things, but we're so small compared to them. I mean, they're 4 times the budget and probably 5 times the head count. So we'd very much be the little sister in any arrangement like that,
Yeah.
It's been done. Newmarket, a few years ago, went through a process of kind of bringing the school and town operations back together again on the back office side, so it's definitely worth exploring. We don't have a lot of costs there to gain savings from. You think about, we
Yeah.
have a person and a few vendor kind of contracts, but we don't spend a lot of money on that stuff now. We spend virtually nothing on IT. As you can tell.
I think we would need to
So,
do separate.
when you don't spend anything, you can't save that much. So, the benefits globally would probably be there, but it would be hard to find them on just the town side.
And
But they're the same taxpayers, so,
Yeah.
if I can add, one of the things we were talking about is that a lot of these folks need a backup person. So like your payroll, you've got to have 2 people, if for nothing more than somebody goes on vacation, and for accountability and making sure everything's going well. Well, if the school has to have that backup person, we're paying for them. Whereas if the backup person is technically the town that you're already using, then
Wait, so are
there
you
you have.
suggesting that there would be 2 payroll people,
So
one for the school?
you need to have 2, you need to have one main person, then someone else has to have the responsibility of backup. So you might be going from say a part-time to a full-time just to pay for the backup services.
Yeah, but we have one person now who's doing our payroll plus our bookkeeping,
Okay.
right? And so Betsy has a full-time job.
Right.
So that's,
You wouldn't be able to add to her
But we don't,
work.
but we don't have a backup. So
True.
that's one of the reasons we were looking at the same accounting system is that, you have.
So it's giving us that option of a little bit of back and forth there for, you just
yeah,
don't have to
I
hire
would
the
want to see a
extra.
little more
Of course.
thought on that, because I wouldn't want to see us just duplicating positions.
No,
Right.
no.
Well, no, that person would be the backup to
Would be the
Betsy.
backup. It's,
Yeah, but we're talking about two people now.
Right, that would be Betsy and their person.
We would still have our person.
I
They
understand.
would still have theirs, and they would mutually back each other up.
I
You would
understand.
have a budget and we would have a budget.
I understand. What I'm saying is, do we really need two people who are doing payroll? I understand the need for backup. Do you combine that backup who's doing payroll with something else?
well,
We
that's,
don't need two people doing payroll. I understand the backup.
If you want to gain any efficiency from it, you find ways to put the two systems together. and
yeah.
I get it.
Track them.
I just don't want all of a sudden our payroll to, so I would want to see the data. I would
Yes.
want to see how the roles would break
course.
out
Right.
and how the employee count would change.
And that's why we're here tonight, is to discuss, and then we have some direction and can do our research. And right, how many people are doing payroll right now for I think it's 5.
But, yeah, right, I believe each district has a bookkeeper, and then there's,
Each school has a bookkeeper, and then there's 2 payroll on top of
Yeah.
it. So there's currently 5 people doing payroll
For 3 towns.
for 3 towns, just the schools. And so that's, yes, if you're thinking to yourself, that's what we were thinking too, is there's a lot of, there's just, we're like, what are these folks doing? We're not really sure 100%. That's part of this process.
Just as Donna mentioned, I think I'd like to see the data as well.
Yep.
You know, just so we know that we are
Yeah, I'd want to see what the scenarios would
doing
look
right by
like.
the townspeople
Yep,
and
100%.
schools as well, so, okay.
What are the options over, I mean, get into another SAU? Is that a possibility, or?
Well, we're exploring that too. The question is, who would we join? There's Northwood we're already with, so it's a possibility.
If we were to separate, is that going to interfere with any of the tuition contracts that we have with Co-Brown?
no.
So we won't experience a shift in higher costs or anything like that?
Contracts are with the school, not
okay.
with the SAU.
I mean, like another, Epping or Barrington, I mean, I don't know how many SAUs there is, but.
And that would be, that's part of we were starting to look into, is who could we jump with? And Barrington does kind of make sense. But I'm not, the question is, would they want to?
So I think what you're looking for is for us to give the nod to Chris to go ahead, continue to have conversations with you, explore whether there is space that can be used and what kind of staffing might look like, or shared staffing might look like.
And see if we can get some efficiencies.
I'm good with that.
Yeah.
Yep.
Good with it.
It's not to
I'm
make
all
a
for
decision, it's just to
Yep.
keep the discussions open.
Yep.
All right, Chris.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. all.
Thanks.
Thanks.
We don't have a 7:15. Is Kathy here?
No, don't we still have election prep?
I don't see
That's general
Bonnie.
business, so you can do that whenever you want. I don't know who's.
How long do you think that'll be? You think that'd be a quick one? No? All right, so why don't we just roll right into,
Is your 7:30 here?
yeah,
So if you want to do that. you can.
yeah, let's just roll right into that.
Yeah, it's the only-
If you're good with that? Yeah, okay. Come on up. All right, just be sure to state your name and address for the record.
My name is Kathy Morris. I live at 212 Raymond Road. And we, the people that live there, and I've understood that other abutters are also upset by it, are not happy with the drag races, the grass races. It was extraordinarily loud. If you're standing in your front yard 2 feet apart, you could not hear each other speak. And they did not notify us beforehand that that was going to take place. The way I found out was I exited my driveway on Friday morning and saw the sign, "Welcome Race Fans." I made a call to the PD. I said, do they have permits for this? I mean, this is ridiculous, especially in the COVID-19 situation, to gather a lot of people together. Not that that would affect me, but it might affect others. And they came over Friday evening after they'd already started, two of the girls, one of them lives back there, I guess, to give us free admission. But I figure somebody let them know that I called the police department and asked something, and that's why they prompted to come over for that, because we had no notice of it whatsoever. And it's so loud, you can't keep your windows open if it's a nice enough day for it. You can't have a conversation. It's totally disruptive. One woman who's not here was married in her front yard last year. What if that was taking place when she was trying to get married? It wouldn't have worked. If we want to have a family barbecue on a weekend, and we don't know about this, we can't schedule it. I mean, we can have it, but we wouldn't even be able to talk. There wouldn't be any, to have a bunch of people over or something. It's just impossible. And it's impossible to talk to each other as neighbors because it's so loud. They said they would stop at 6 o'clock, which they did, and I appreciated that. But then again, Saturday night was fireworks. I wasn't expecting that. I wasn't told there was going to be fireworks. And I also understand that for these grass drags, they're using snowmobiles that have their exhaust altered to make them extra loud. And I believe that is regulated by the state. They have to have permits to have their exhaust, have vehicles there that have their exhaust altered. I mean, I may be wrong, but I've been told that they need to have a permit from the state to alter their exhaust to use them that way. And that's part of why it's so loud. I mean, it's bad enough that we have to have any day of the week, weekend or whatever, they're out in the pit shooting semi-automatic rifles and, whatever. And that's very loud and nerve-wracking as well. I think we need to discuss something about allowing them to have the two more meetings that they want to have, the 2 more events. I understand that Fremont has it 1 time a year, and it's highly regulated. And if they did it once a year, we could deal with that if we knew when it was. But if they're gonna do 2 more this year, I don't agree with that. Nobody was notified. Not a single abutter knew about it until after it happened. It already started, except for me seeing the sign out there. Nobody knew. I think for being a good neighbor, that would be the least they could do, is let us be notified ahead of time. And I think we should have the ability to have a say in what goes on in our own backyard and how we get to enjoy the pleasure of a country evening where we live. It was totally disruptive, and it was not regulated.
So I just want to get a big picture here. You're 212, you said, right? And that's the ranch that's out front, right?
No, it's not.
No?
We're the condos.
You're the condos, okay, all right. So you walk right out your back door, there it is.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. And are all you from the neighborhood?
These 2.
We're from Epping, and I can hear the announcement in my backyard. And I have 10 acres in my back,
Okay, okay.
between their property and I'm at the.
Okay, I just wanted to see a show of hands and who's here because of this, and it sounds like you all are, okay. All right, well,
There might be some people outside that they were planning on being here at 7:30. They may not be in here yet.
okay.
Someone may want, if that's true, someone may want to go and get them.
Yeah, go check. Because there was 1 or 2 more people that were supposed to be here.
Okay. Chris, did you want to talk about how we're,
I'm sorry, I think maybe we need to just,
What did you want me to say?
well, how, this is obviously new to us as a town. We do not have the the experience that, say, Fremont does with this type of event. I will say that, you know, we were not prepared. We got this last minute as well. So, that being said, you know, as far as the exhaust goes on those type of machines, I think what you're referring to is that the modifications that are done if they're on the trails. I don't know if that applies to that particular event. I could be wrong as well. So, I mean, there's
Understand it does
obviously
to
some things
everything.
that need to be looked at as well. Fireworks, you know, things of that nature.
I personally think it's about time for the town to adopt some type of a noise ordinance and restrictions. And frankly, I think shooting should be done at a gun club. They're equipped for that. They have this pond out where the man-made pond that turned into a spring.
Yep.
And running those through it, I'm sure got a lot of gas and oil in it, and they use it for swimming. Plus, that could also end up in our drinking water, because we're on a well.
Okay.
So there are a lot of considerations, not just our discomfort with the sound. There are a lot of things that could go on. And frankly, I wouldn't be surprised if I got repercussions from this because I brought this up at the meeting here.
Well, we certainly hope that that doesn't happen, but based on, well, at least,
Don't worry, I don't intimidate easily.
that's not where I was going with that, Kathy, but thank you. Does anybody have any comments or questions?
What do you think would be an appropriate solution to this?
Once a year, we could deal with, if we're told ahead of time. And I don't think it should be Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Friday and a Saturday, or Saturday and Sunday, but it's very disruptive.
So if I'm understanding you correctly, you would say no to the next two?
I would. At this point, they were not responsible neighbors. They did not care how anybody else felt about it, which is all too evident in a lot of people today.
Okay, but we're just focusing on that particular incident,
Right.
not what the rest of the world was going through.
You're
I
right.
appreciate your concerns, though. Donna, do you have any questions, comments?
No, I don't, thank you.
No? John?
You guys want to add anything? Oh,
I
good.
agree with some of the points, and I understand, you know, I mean, some of the other points that were brought up are debatable, in my opinion. So, you know, I'm not 100% against having these events at all in town, but I do understand the concern that was brought up today. So there is a happy medium to somewhere, because no matter where you live, if you live on the other side of town, you listen to Lee Speedway.
Yep.
It's over there. That goes every Friday, Saturday
That's
night.
been there for a long time. That's a whole different situation.
I'm just saying that people that move over there, they have to listen to it. It's there.
We moved to the country for peace and
Again, I'm not
quiet.
trying to be argumentative. I'm just throwing out, again, I understand where you're coming from. And I'm just playing devil's advocate against both sides, you know, how you want to say this. You know, people that live on the lake have to deal with fireworks all summer long. People blow them off at 2 o'clock in the morning, you know?
Maybe that's an error.
Totally rude.
Tell me
There's no
about it.
warning to anybody. They're just going off.
There should be some regulation, and
So-
each town can regulate what they
These are
wish.
concerns that you brought up, which I believe should be addressed.
Mm-hmm.
But the fact that they didn't approach you to let you know this was gonna happen was definitely not in the best interest of that organization. Because it's kind of rude.
Mm-hmm.
You think you'd let the people around know that what's gonna go happen and what's gonna go on. But again, I went to the event for one day, just for an hour, just because I had to go check it out, because do my due justice of what we were signed up for. You know, I thought the event, from being that different events around, that it was handled well for what they were doing for the event, for people-wise, for, organization for a first-time event, but the noise is something to, it is loud. There's nothing wrong with saying it's not loud. It definitely is loud, so I just don't know where to go right now on this. I value your opinion and what you're saying right now, but, you know,
Tyler, do you have any comments, sir?
No, I agree with some of John. I mean, we went that day for an hour, just because that's what we want to do, see what it actually was. We didn't know anything about it either, you know. And as far as the way it was run and all that, I thought they did a very good job.
They probably
I
did.
thought more than the snow machines, I thought the announcer was very loud. I mean, it was just,
That was
every
too.
time he spoke into that microphone, I mean, you could hear him. I mean, so, no, I understand what you guys are all here for tonight, and, you know, I live right over, I hear Lee every night. I mean, I chose to live there, so, but this is different with you guys. You lived there before this started happening, so. But,
I mean, I've got hearing aids, and I didn't have them in, and it was too loud.
yeah.
That's pretty bad.
But I don't think, like I said, I don't think this, what they want to do, that they never want to become Fremont. I mean, I don't think we want Fremont for even a one weekend having up to 30,000 people in town. Where are we going to put them, number one?
No, I don't think so either, but I'm sure they're hoping to attract more people.
Yeah, I think we'll be the ones to decide what the numbers would be, I believe, right, Chris? I mean, that's what we talked about, keeping it to a certain number. I mean,
Yeah, I mean, your ability to control it in the moment is rather limited.
yeah.
You could, you could cap ticket sales or what have you, but our ability to count and enforce something like that's pretty limited, so.
Ultimately, it's gonna boil down to, right, an argument of property rights, right? The right of that property owner to do what they want with their land and have an event, or whatnot, balanced against the property rights of these homeowners that want to enjoy their backyards on a summer evening. And, where's the balance in that?
Well, I guess
There's no summary decision that we could make that would equitably balance everyone's wants and needs.
But what I got from this is that had they been known, they would have been more prepared.
At least for that one.
At
We
least.
would have been prepared. We had no idea until the day of.
Let me just challenge what you said though, Tony, because, what if I live next to you and I choose to have a loud, party and invite 100 friends and play loud music? Well, first off, I'd be crazy not to invite you, but,
Bingo.
but that's my prerogative. Whereas what this is a different situation because it's an event.
Right.
And so I do think that that's where, as we've been talking about, the event licensing comes in,
Right.
right? So
That's a mitigating factor right
I
there.
do
You're
think
right.
it's different
Yeah.
that way.
Yeah.
Okay.
Can I speak?
Yeah.
I'm not,
I'm sorry, she's from Epping.
Oh, you're from,
Is there any,
can we?
like I know a town
I'm
meeting?
not from that, I'm not.
It's up to you. You can hear from whoever you wish. I don't believe you have a standing rule about it, so, it's up to you.
how many from Nottingham that are here right now? All due respect, this is a Nottingham issue, would like to try to address it as a,
Everything was addressed me if there was a fire, that would affect me.
I'm a taxpayer in
Fair enough.
And I'm an abutter, so I'd like to speak. I don't live in, my residence is in Epping, but I have 5 acres of land that abuts this property. And I'm not notified.
anybody else? I know where you're coming from, sir. Let's hear from the other folks first before.
It might relieve a lot of their questions, is what I'm getting at. So, I've heard I want to respond to 3/4 of what she just said, and I think part of what they're.
Okay, but I want to maintain order in regards to this meeting, and I certainly, this could very easily turn into a hot button topic and get out of hand. I certainly do not want that.
I understand.
So, I'd rather hear from the other residents first prior to you. So, anybody else wanted to come up from Nottingham? If not, then I'll hear from Epping.
He's both.
Thank you. My name is Mark Balone. I live on 252 Blake Road in Epping. I also gave you, this is basically, I'm just going to read you what I wrote, just so I can see this. Lifelong resident of Epping. We've lived in our property on Blake Road for 25 years. But, I live in New Hampshire, and this is a motorhead state, so we recognize how popular motorsports are in our state. We also believe that people should be able to use their property to start new businesses. So we're not objecting to the idea about an event such as this. We just want businesses to be good neighbors and have events that generate crowds and loud noise that are safe and reasonable. That's what we're looking for. And again, I think a lot of, things could have gone a lot way if we had been notified. I mean, this is a change of use in the property. I mean, I've served on the ZBA, and generally when there's people making changes like this, the abutters get notified that something else is gonna happen to the property, and we got nothing. So I think that really does kind of set a bad tone right off the bat. So, I guess it was discussed here. I mean, if you had a public session and we had known about it, we would have shown up. So that's why. And again, the noise is an issue, and I think the loudspeaker system actually was bad. I mean, two-stroke engines, make a lot of noise, and we know that. The thing was, we also, we didn't know what was going on. I thought it was maybe, people with dirt bikes that were having some friends over, because again, it's the same kind of engine. And it was going on, and it went on, I don't know when it started, but there was either a bunch of people, that same kind of noise was going on prior to that weekend, prior to that Thursday and Friday. So, I mean, that was another thing. We knew something was up.
So you're saying that it was going on the weekend before and the week leading up to it?
Yeah, that's what, so this is before, I looked at the schedule for Northeast. It said they had a Thursday, Friday. We were hearing noises like, again, we just figured the neighbor was having a bunch of kids over with dirt bikes. I mean, that's what we kind of thought about. Was the first time I say, okay, these guys are having a party, they have a bunch of bikes. That's what I think about. Then comes Thursday, then comes Friday, and then Saturday all day with now we know something's going on because we can hear the loudspeakers. And our neighbors, again, the Denoncourts on one side, Conway's on the other, they really could hear the noise. And it was, the dBs were really hot, were really loud. We were in our house, we had the window box ACs, which are not quiet, going, and we could still hear that thing going. So that really was not. So again, we like to see limits set on, again, some kind of, and again, Nottingham doesn't have any noise ordinances, so that's a concern to us because it looks like, what are the limits?
We can take all these in consideration.
You have an event license, right? That's, yeah. Yeah, and the final thing is, the grass drags over at Fremont, that's gone on, and it's a big event. That's one huge weekend. I mean, and I think, I called Fremont, and they talked about the concern, actually the fire, I guess, Fremont Fire and Police came to I think the Selectmen had just said they were concerned about just, coronavirus without that many people coming in. And I think that's one of the reasons why they went around and asked the vendors to, let's chill for a year. That is a much, much bigger operation. But I mean, what we liked about that is that they seem to have gotten their act together in regards to how they regulate it. They limit it to one weekend a year. And again, that's what we're sort of looking for, is that it gets us nervous when all of a sudden we see 3 events planned that we had no notice on. We believe that it's a property. If they want to do something like that, I think it can be done.
Yep.
But it has to be done the right kind of way. And also, I think it really should be limited. And Kathy said she wanted 1. We probably could live with 2. I think the idea about prior notice, but the notion that all of a sudden this thing happens, and we just don't know what is the limit on this thing, because it's right next door.
Well, and that's a conversation we can have with the property owner in regards to how many events that they would like to have versus how many they can have.
Right, and so I think definitely,
Okay.
I would go for the 1 on that. So, and again, we understand that people got to make a living. These are all these old farm sites. People have to do something with their property, and we understand they had some camping, and it looks like the organization was pretty tight. The crowd size, I guess, was pretty, but we don't know about it. We didn't have any information. So I think that the lack of information, and also the idea that this is going to be, we don't know how open-ended it is. So that's why we're here tonight, just asking you to try to really put some tight clamps on this, just so that we can have some peace of mind.
Okay. Did you catch his name, Lorraine?
Mark?
Yep.
And it's right there. It's right there on your paper.
Yeah, so you got that too?
Yeah, it's right there.
I'll scan this in.
Okay.
That's my wife, Chris, and that's our neighbor, Cheryl Denoncourt, who wanted to speak to.
Okay. Well, I appreciate your time.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you.
Just a quick note, Gary LeBlanc, I live right there at the condos, 212.
Okay. Come up to, if you're gonna speak, come up to the chair. Now,
Right, it is.
sir, unless you have something new to add, I mean, we don't wanna rehash the same thing, we'd be here all night.
No, it's loud there on a regular basis. This
Yeah.
was just extra loud.
Okay.
For it.
Loud because of the heavy equipment they have on
The
property.
the
No,
modified.
but you said it's always loud there, so I assume you're referring.
There's always parties, there's always shooting in the
Oh,
pit.
okay.
There's, the fireworks, this is outside of the event. So, my concern is, are these machines gonna be there off and on once or twice outside of the event, practicing?
They were.
Which they were during the week
Okay,
down there. They had a party one night, they had a nice band, I listened to the band outside, it was great. You know, it's not all bad.
okay,
They were respectful that night, they stopped at 6, fireworks, by 9 or 10, it was quiet. They were really good.
okay.
So it's just, but there's an ongoing noise issue all the time. If we want on a nice day to have a window open, you gotta shut it
So
sometime.
prior to learning of this event, Chris, have we got any noise complaints in regards to that property prior to this event?
I don't think so, those would typically go to the police,
Yeah.
and,
Then Chief hasn't mentioned anything?
no, probably would have in the lead up to this.
Yeah,
But without a noise ordinance, noise doesn't generate
Right.
a lot of traction at the police department. It's,
gotcha. Okay.
There probably would have been one, last year, the year before, when your mother passed.
Oh, yeah, guy called the police.
They have a Memorial Day weekend party
Really
with
loud.
tons of people and campers, and even 11:30 at night, music was loud blasting.
Okay,
So this is a day, a summer issue or a weekend issue all the time,
okay.
which I can understand some of it. But actually, since that night, for their nights out, they've been pretty good.
Okay. All right, Rain, you got his name?
Yes.
We can't set a noise ordinance, that has to be done by the planning board, right?
yeah, you couldn't do it on your own.
Right.
Well, it has to be,
I knew that, I was just making sure that's, okay.
Anybody else?
Can I speak? So again, I agree with a lot with Mark has said. And this has been going on Sundays for multiple weekends. We even discussed like what's going on. It's their own property, they can do it, you know.
what was your name, ma'am?
It was loud. My name is Cheryl Denoncourt,
And your address, ma'am?
222 Blake Road. So they've been doing it, and again, the fire, the shooting and stuff like that, it's their property. You know, we said, oh, look at what's going on there, they probably got dirt bikes. Okay, that's, you know, it's their property, they can do what they want. Until this coming weekend, that weekend that they had the event, is when I did call. I called the town
So,
offices.
I just real quick, and I'm not advocating one way or another here. So you're saying that the shooting and all that stuff was good to go, but until you've had this event, which
I have
went over
no,
the top?
well, I have no control over what they're doing on their property and shooting.
Okay,
You know, that's their property. You know, they were racing or doing things during the week, during Sunday, Saturday and Sundays prior to this. I wish I had marked down the weeks. And I'm thinking, well, it's their property. I was thinking it was motorbikes. I never even gave a thought about snowmobiles going over there.
well,
So and that's their property. It's like, okay, well, you can live with it. It's a few hours during the afternoon, you know. We have no choice. It's their property and stuff like that. It's when I started hearing the announcing. Then I got concerned too. There's some kind of, you know, is this going on all along? You know, what's going on?
Understood.
And I did call up the town offices. But my concern is, again, the fireworks. Yes, people have fireworks, but I have a hayfield in the backyard. If they didn't notify you that they were having fireworks and what they were setting off, was the fire department notified that they were setting off quite a bit of fireworks? What if something sparked up? We're in a drought right now. Okay, I have a over 250-year-old home, again, loans. You know what it is, like in Nottingham. That caught my hayfield. It's not hay yet. I would have been gone. You know, was Epping notified? Was Raymond notified for the fire department, just in case, you know? Those are things that I would think should be considered if you're gonna continue these events. If they're gonna have the events, it's something that should be thought of, ordinances as far as, you know, when they shut down. Again, if they're gonna have them, it's their property, they wanna have them, but I would like to see a limit to how many people.
Okay.
If they're gonna do camping, if they're gonna, have fireworks, it ends at 10 o'clock. Safety, as long as the town of Nottingham makes sure that there's police there, there's fire, the surrounding towns are notified. We don't have fire hydrants out there. Everything's dried out. What are they gonna do? What's the recourses of that? If they're camping, are they going out further out of, walking around and stuff like that into the woods? That
Understood.
can be a
Okay.
effect. And, other than the sound.
All right. Well, I certainly appreciate you coming.
And I appreciate you listening.
And, we'll take this under advisement, and hopefully we can come to some sort of happy meeting with all involved.
One more.
One?
What is that?
Yeah, if you, again, I want to keep this civil.
I agree with all of them, actually, so.
State your name and your address, please.
My name's Stephen Reynolds. I actually live in Milton, New Hampshire, on 99 Micah Terrace. I'm the president of the Watercross Association. Don't throw stuff at me just yet. Hold on.
What's the name of the organization again?
Northeast Watercross Championship.
So you're not the resident there?
No, I own it. I own the
Oh,
series.
okay.
So,
No, but
So
not the
where-
property.
Yeah, where's the property?
I don't own the property. It's at 214 Raymond Road, Nottingham, Sand and Gravel,
Okay,
owned by Kubota Trust and Tammy DeFrancesco.
just clarifying.
Okay. So I just want to touch on, just to put these residents at ease, like I said, I agree with absolutely everybody. It is noisy. I'll just go down the list. I made like little punch notes so I can try to touch on everything everybody said.
Can everybody hear him?
Yeah, can I take this off so they can hear me, or?
No.
Okay, all right, it's fine. All right, so.
I'm talking to the mic, that might help. All right.
The first thing is the notice. I agree with everybody that it was kind of dropped into our laps last minute. And it was actually, like you guys said, it was kind of dropped into your lap last minute too. Due to the process.
Can I just stop you right there? You're the president of the organization.
Yeah.
Don't you plan for these things?
Yep,
So how is it dropping in your lap?
I'm gonna tell you in 2 seconds.
Okay.
Okay, so the way you go about planning something like this is you go to the Fish and Game first to find out if that location's even usable. So you apply to the Fish and Game before you even go to the town, because what's the point of going to the town if it's not even an option, you know what I mean? Like zero option. So we just started there, and where we came from, the way it worked before was you just get the permit from the Fish and Game, and then you'd go to the town. The way New Hampshire did it this go-around is, we went and got the permit, and they notified you guys before we even did. So what happened was, all along, we're like, we can't race, we're not even gonna apply for it because of the COVID situation. Slowly, as New Hampshire backed out of all the restrictions and stuff, and they opened the doors for racing to start back up again, we were left with, all right, this is a short window of time to get ready, can we do it? So we're like, let's apply for the permits, let's see if we can even get the pond approved. And when we applied for the permit, they instantly approved it and instantly let you guys know, and then we instantly got the green light to go racing. So, there's a couple ways to go about I could have, give the town a heads up.
I just want to correct you for one moment.
Okay.
What's your first name?
Stephen Reynolds.
Stephen. Okay. We don't get notification from the state. We get found out literally, but for residents, okay, we got no notification.
Fish and Game on the slide. It was not we got a, by the way, Fish and Game told one of our cops about it.
Okay, because what the Fish and Game told me and what state police told me was the Fish and Game notified the state police, the town, the local police, and one other people. But anyways, that's the way that went, and I apologize greatly for that. And then normally, like I said, I think I sent you guys an email and Tammy forwarded it to you. This is usually a 2-year process, and it happened in 4 months. So I agree with them 100%. I spent $675. Again, I failed, and I can tell by the people that are here, nothing against them, but I failed in the aspect that not everybody's on social media. I spent $675 on Facebook boosted posts letting absolutely everybody know about the event. It reached over 9,000 people had clicked on the event and saw that it was there.
Okay, but
We went.
they were obviously not part of the 9,000 people.
Yes, I get that now. That's why I said I agree with them and I fail and I apologize on that aspect.
That also wasn't regionalized, right? That was just.
Yes, it was. New Hampshire only, and within, I think it was like 60 miles of the address. So, again, I failed on that part. I could have, posted flyers everywhere else if the town had known about it far in advance, been announced. However, so I apologize greatly for that. We did go to the condos. I totally understand where the condos are coming from. It's noisy, and I keep repeating myself, but I understand the noise thing. We did go to the condos 2 weeks prior and spoke to 2 of the residents. The other 2 weren't home. And then the following, it was never because the cops were called. We had the cops stop by and he said, hey, a couple people complained, but they never said names or anything. But Friday night, I was like, hey, did we touch base with everybody? And like 2 girls, I believe it's Tammy's stepdaughter or whatever, they were like, oh no, we didn't get a hold of 2 of them. I was like, oh crap. Well, go over there and let them know that they're more than welcome to come by, what the hours are, etc. So I'll just get off that topic. I mean, notification, huge. I totally understand. It was totally last minute on many, many, many levels. They're not wrong. There was water crossing before these events. Again, just to educate everybody, what had happened was one of my racers found out about the pond. And then Tammy, the owner, and her friends, they're young, they like to have fun, and they're like, oh, can we water cross there? So she was letting people, come hang out, water cross, practice, or whatever. And that's when I found out about the pond. I was like, hey, could we race here? She's like, yeah, I mean, you go through the hoops, you can race here.
You're in charge of the Northwood one too, right?
No, I'm not.
No, so you're not affiliated with the Northwood one?
I'm affiliated and I volunteered.
So is the pond that's at 214 larger than the one in Northwood?
A little bit, yes.
So I can see the appeal for this particular
Yeah.
pond. How are you addressing the environmental impacts on
So-
like you had one sled sink, correct?
Multiple. And the
Okay.
way that works is, there's only so many fluids in a 2-stroke. I don't know if just to educate
Yeah.
people. Basically,
Start fluid.
there's more pollution in a 2-stroke outboard motor than there is a watercross sled. And that's been proven by the Fish and Game and many, many, many different aspects. The only fluid in some of the sleds is the gasoline, which all these sleds, all are supposed to, and we regulate it as much as we can, have a pressure release valve. I don't know if you've ever seen one on an air compressor. It's the same thing. When you sink, you pull the pin and the gas tank seals shut.
Okay.
The crankcase, they use vegetable oil instead of regular oil, but most of them have gone to belt drive.
Okay.
But again, I know everybody's strapped for time, and I want to touch base on the stuff that they brought up. So again, just to rehash, notice, I totally understand. We spent a lot of money on advertising. I'm new school. I didn't consider the old school, and that's my fault. But the fireworks, again, it was not half hour, it was not 20 minutes, it was literally about 6 minutes. I lit them personally, there was 4 cakes. I thought it would be a nice thing, 9 o'clock at night, not too late, light some fireworks. If that upset more people than it did, when I see them, I'm like, ooh, wow. I live on a lake, I get fireworks blasted off in my window all summer long.
Okay.
I'm sick of them, but other people like them. So again, if that's up for discussion, I apologize, but
One thing I'll say to that, Steve, is that we weren't aware of that.
Yep.
We were told that, end of noise at 6 o'clock.
oh,
So that, I think, is something that we should have known was going to happen as well.
absolutely, and I don't disagree with that. Just again, what some people like, other people don't. You know what I mean? So you got to kind of find that happy medium. So back real quick, like I said, there was practicing. So just to cut the story back, there was practicing. I found out about the pond. I applied for it. I immediately went to Tammy because I'm not going to disagree.
How many weekends prior to the event were they out there
There was
practicing?
2 practices.
Okay.
And I think one other friend came and practiced and he did school pictures. But anyway, so what happened was they came to me, the racers came to me, they said, hey, we got this pond, yada, yada, yada. And I was like, sweet, let's see if we can use it. Once we got the okay, and the balls started rolling here. I know how this works. I went to over 24 Baldwin town meetings just like these to get us racing there. And I said, listen, we're gonna roast this town. Like, they're gonna, we're gonna burn them out. Like, everything has to stop. Not one sled comes on this pond unless it's through me. One, that's a business side of things, and two, it's out of respect. So, out of respect for the town, again, you can approach this with a sound ordinance over the whole town, which is almost nearly impossible. And I only say that because when you have businesses, you have noise. So I'm not saying it's not impossible, but anyways, part of this 3 times a year, it can only be 3 times a year, you know what I mean? So because, she obviously makes money off of this, and we actually wrote a $1,000 check today to the food bank. Like, there's things involved in it that are appealing to her.
To Tammy,
to halt everything, like totally cool it. I've been there for over 2 months now, like a lot. We became very good friends. I've never heard one gunshot since the event. I don't live there full time though. I can't speak on that, but
Okay, you're not here to discuss the.
No, I don't. What I'm saying is.
Can I just throw in and ask, so can we just take this from a little bit of a different angle? There's an ask to have 2 more events.
Yes.
Right? We know what all the concerns are. What would you do differently?
Well, from what I hear tonight, like I said, the next event is in 2 weeks. That's been posted online and everywhere for over a month now. We notify a month in advance.
But you, to your own admissions, you only post on.
Yes, exactly. So from here, like, obviously go to the condos, let the whole.
It's more than just the condos.
No, I know. I'm just saying, in the immediacy, like,
I guess what we're trying to say is you need to be the responsible event organizer here and talk to all parties involved and who it might affect.
Yes,
It doesn't sound like you were doing that, hence why we're here today with these folks being upset.
Absolutely, and that's why I apologized, and I said, normally, this is a 2-year thing, you know what I mean? So normally, this is, the whole town knows about it within like a couple months, not weeks, so in the
What I'm interested in is what specifically would be done differently for these 2 additional events that you're requesting. So, more effective communication is one.
Absolutely.
So there's concerns about the communication, there's concerns about the weekends leading up to it, there's concerns about the loudness, the fireworks. So what would be your action plan for changing for the next event, which is scheduled for what?
To work,
3 weeks.
I'll get 2 weeks from this weekend, to diligently notify the town, because I totally understand it, like the whole graduation in your front yard, again, it doesn't pertain, but like he mentioned, my family used to live inside of the Walmart Auto Care Center. That used to be their house. They bought that house, they planned on living there for their entire life, and stuff just blew up around it. So I respect, a quiet carriage town that wants to stay quiet. I understand that 1,000%. And like she said, to diligently notify the town, let people know the dates so they can plan around it. On top of it, like I said,
What
all
else?
noise is halted over.
Sorry, I just want to cut to the chase here. Just want to cut to the chase. Yeah, it would have to be, in my mind, it would have to be, abutters with,
Yep.
within a certain radius. But what else?
Like you mentioned on the fireworks and whatnot, I did notify the fire department, because of the drought situation. We applied for a fire permit, they approved it. Tammy, same thing, it's a big hay grass field. She's like, that's probably not a good idea. Like, let's leave the fires out of it, but have
But you had
fireworks.
fireworks anyway, right?
What was that?
But you still had fireworks,
No, we didn't have fires. There was no campfires or anything like that.
okay?
There was there was dry camping, but there was no campfires. We had the 6 minutes of fireworks and that was it.
Folks, just
Let him speak, please.
But, I know there's a butters in the outskirts of the town, so I need to work on getting that out way faster. It's easier when you have tons and tons of time. And like I said, you say what else? The huge part of it is everything has halted over there, you know what I mean? So like I said, it's appealing to them to have these events, and it's good for.
So they're no longer requesting 2 additional events this year?
No, they're not doing the random practice weekends all summer long, you know what I mean? Like, they had stated there was practicing going on before these events. And that's what I was getting at, is there was, and that's how I found out about this pond. But since our events, they've halted all practicing, nothing. No snowmobile goes on that pond, anything whatsoever, unless it's at this event.
Okay, and so would all the practicing occur within the official days of the
Yes,
event?
yes. Yep. So it's, like I said, I understand, like, again, I'm just beating a dead horse, kind of. You're not gonna please everybody. I understand there's noise and stuff like that. Notifying the town is a bajillion %, but it's putting a control on it, you know what I mean? So instead of her being able to have friends come over and free-for-all and practice whenever they want, it's these 3 weekends and these 3 weekends only. So, I mean, that's kind of, in my eyes, a bigger plus than it is having.
How are you combating this whole pandemic thing, ensuring people are safe during these events?
I mean, you guys attended the events. We provided masks for everybody.
Okay.
We had signage for everybody. We had hand sanitizer for everybody. We had 2 staff members on the porta potties cleaning them every hour. We had the Pump Cup Emmys porta potties. She came in Saturday night or Sunday morning and super cleaned all of them. I mean, we advised people to practice social distancing, but obviously, you know, people that are really, really concerned about their health usually aren't at these events. But we do everything. We get an email from the CDC as to when we applied for the fishing game, and we went above and beyond what they requested. So, safety is first. Safety is first on the racing side of things and on the health side of things.
Okay.
But, and also, like, I wanted to come, I actually watched the YouTube videos of the meetings before, like, just so many unknowns. I know this is brand new to you guys.
It is.
We're not a grass drags, we never will be, ever, ever, ever. What you saw, and that's another thing, what you guys saw is about as big as the race side of things get. And you saw, I know you guys had a huge concern about traffic. There was never one car backed up, even halfway up the driveway. It doesn't matter. The numbers of spectators will never change the noise level. They'll never be, at that location, I speak from experience, especially going to Northwood. Northwood doesn't have a driveway. It's main road park, you know what I mean? There'll never be a traffic issue, ever. So the number of spectators isn't ever going to affect the town too much at our level. Like, it will never be, I mean, Northwood's 20 years old. And they're the same size they've always been. Those are our racers. Grass drags people come from all over the world. Oscar, Junberg, Morgan Bleen, you know what I mean? Like, that's a totally different scale. And you say, like, we're not talking about Epping, but I'm just letting them know, we're not shooting for that whatsoever. That this is.
Okay, well, I guess, you know, the topic of this story is how can you, as the event organizer, bridge that gap between the land abutters and come to a happy median and try to limit the amount of heartache, aggravation, and so on that has been generated since the first event, and you got 2 more coming, 1 in 2 weeks.
Yeah, and like
I guess what I'd like to see is, you know, we discussed some of the areas that you like to address. I'd like to see that in writing and presented it to us so that we can see that you have been making progress to address some of these issues of these folks.
I agree 100%. You know, like, I mean, I'm glad now that just them being here, and like that's why I wanted to come. Like I said, I watched the YouTube videos, and there's so many unknowns, and then I found out about this meeting, and the same thing happened in Baldwin. The very first race we had, I don't know how many people normally come into the select board meetings, but the first weekend after we raced in Baldwin, we had half the town in there. Like, so I was like, I want to go and I want to answer questions. And you say, what are you going to do? At the same time, I want to give it over to them. Like, what can I do? I don't want to not be welcome. I understand where they're coming from. I don't want to be I don't want to be in this room right now because I know I'm like the most hated. No, I'm just kidding. But I want to work with the town to make this. You're not going to please everybody, but I want to please as many people as possible. Like you guys said, there's a good amount of people there. Everybody had a blast. Lee and Sharon, they worked the gate. They asked almost 60% of the people where they were coming from. 90% of the people that were there were Nottingham residents. I mean, it brought I'm not getting all like mushy gushy, but it brings the town together, brings the community together. You know, it's something to do. Like, you gotta have some happiness in your life every once in a while. You can't just sit around and.
Okay.
But
What's the date of the next one is in 2 weeks?
It's the 4th weekend of August and September.
4th weekend of
21,
August.
22, 23,
Yep.
all right?
So the
And Friday's a 2-hour practice. Like, I mean, that's, make sure your sleds all run, okay, shut them off, put them in the trailer, and it's only for 2 hours and that's it. And without that, you wouldn't have races. I know it's hard to, that's on the race side of things. They have to set their sleds up for temperature, course, yada, yada, yada. So it gives them each like a 5-minute window to hit the pond and come back off.
So the second one is the 4th week of September?
Yep.
Okay.
And like I said, I can't speak for, like, we talked on the way in here and she wishes this was live, but this is, everything over there before was fun. This is appealing to the landowners. So they respect the fact of the amount of noise that this creates. And like I said, I haven't been over there full time, but it's quieted, it's kind of put the halt to things. And just to touch on the condo thing, because I was asked to mention it, that before that condo went in there, that has been a gravel pit for a long time.
That's not the argument here.
No, I'm not mentioning it, but
Okay.
since our event, they've unplugged all the backup alarms on the tractors and all the loaders and the excavators. The Terex, which is the off-road dump truck, hasn't been started. Like, they understand the noise that like, they're trying to, give a little, take a little, you know what I mean? Like, balance out the happy medium.
All right. Do you have anything new to add?
I just want to come and answer questions for you guys or them, because again, I've watched the videos and there's been so many unknowns. So I just want
Thank you
to,
for your explanations. You did, I think, a great job.
Yep.
You really clarified a lot for me, so have my opinion.
all right, that's what I'd really like to do. I'd like to, take their suggestions. What are their thoughts? What are your thoughts? Like, I mean, we've been doing this for a long
Well, I
time.
think that perhaps should be another meeting,
Yeah,
because otherwise
absolutely.
we'd be here all night.
I agree.
You know,
One question.
Yeah.
Did you advertise these events before they were actually approved?
You can't do that.
Well, you say you've already advertised in the other event, and they just approved it tonight, so you'd already advertised it before they approved it.
No, I haven't advertised the dates of the September one. We are advertising the one for the one coming up.
So the permit was already in.
all right, folks, all right. Again, we can hash this out all night long. We've heard both sides of the story now, so we will take everybody's thoughts and considerations into, for the next event. As you know, that, the next season, you'll have to go in front of the planning board.
Yep, we're aware of that.
All right, so that's all I want to, put time on this event.
Just ask my question. So are the other events already approved, or are they not?
We approve them as they come up.
This has not been signed.
It has not been signed as of right now, but we will definitely be discussing it. So that's all the time we're going to devote to it tonight.
Well, can we,
No, I'm in for,
okay,
go ahead.
so that's closed okay, so,
Are you closing the public hearing on this? Is that what you just did?
Yes.
Okay, just want to make it clear. I
Okay.
didn't.
So I can appreciate the comments of both sides. What my concern is, so I'm a detailed planning type of person. I've spent half my career doing project planning in some form or another, so I can appreciate, the amount of time it typically takes to plan and organize an event like this. I have grave concerns about what can be done between now and the August event. What can effectively be done to give the reassurance that, the concerns are gonna be taken into consideration and, understand, you're never gonna please anybody, but I personally would feel a little bit more of a comfort level if we understand specifically what's gonna be done as a result of this discussion. I think I would have less concern about the September event, but given that the next one is in 2 weeks, I have concern about that, and that's my opinion.
So we have 22 staff members, and just, again, from this meeting tonight, every single one of them will have flyers tomorrow. I mean, the Nottingham residents, get them as many places as we can, advertise it as much as we possibly can. I mean, this will obviously be on YouTube. And again, I don't know what Nottingham's public resources are, like public locations, whatnot, how they notify. If you guys have a website or that we could stem off of or whatever, but it's gonna be a all-day event tomorrow with many people, and you can wait to sign that before you see that. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, I like to see formal documentation.
Yeah. I
I'm
mean,
looking for more like details out of the plan of what's gonna happen during the course of the day and everything like this. Is that what you're looking for, asking them to do?
Well, there's concerns about, okay, so the notification, so what are all the specific notifications? There's the concerns about the pre-event practices, how is that gonna be controlled? There's concerns about, and conflicting information about the time, the length of the noise, and all of that stuff. So, I think you've spoken to it, but, I want to see the complete plan, and I want to be assured that it's going to be followed up.
You want it in writing.
And
The planning as in the times of the event are, they're what's permitted by Fish and Game in the town. So we went, like the last event, it was 10 to 6. That was it. Friday, Saturday, Sunday, but we didn't, like Friday's not even, I kind of take Friday off the list because it's a couple hours in the evening. That's not like, so 10 to 6 Saturday and Sunday. And we didn't even start till 11:30 the first day. And then the second day, it was like 11:15, you know what I mean? So the actual event part of the things, I mean, that's already in writing, but I understand what you're saying, like, how can you be assured that the notifications are gonna go out? And, I mean, everybody will see it tomorrow. Like, all I can say is that I'm gonna do it, so tomorrow's gonna come and we'll get it done.
any comments, questions, John?
No, I mean, the only thing I'd like to see from Steve is a more detailed, you said Friday, he just stated Friday that they have 2 hours that they're allowed to practice, and that's 2 hours only. That's it. That's what he just stated. Not from 10 to 6, but for 2 hours. So if it's from 2
Where
to
would you
4
like to see that? Because that is on our website.
Well, again, see this, it doesn't say it on here.
Yeah.
This is what I have to sign.
Yeah.
All right, this is what we're going by. So this is what we need, we need everything that's spilled out here that you stated, if you were going to have fireworks, which obviously people didn't, not as many people liked it, so maybe that's something you don't do at 9 o'clock at night. You just shut it down at 6 o'clock, call it a day.
Absolutely, and
That's a way to meet the common ground with the neighbors.
and that's what we've all talked about before, is the process of creating an event application where we don't have one, but I'm all for putting as many details on paper and adding it to that.
And that's where I think a lot, is important to know that, the more details we can see on here, the more details you go by, helps regulate the whole plan.
Yep.
Which by having a more regulated plan, puts a lot more people at ease of knowing what's going to happen.
Absolutely,
So if you are still running at 7 o'clock at night, there will be a visit.
Yep.
And then when you come back, you won't have a race plan. There won't be any more racing.
And that's kind of like, how do we know that's gonna happen? Like you guys stated, you signed them on a race-by-race basis, and I know until next year that was the agreement. So, say it goes till 8 o'clock at night one night, which it would never happen, 6 o'clock hits, that's it. But say that it did happen, the next go-around, you can say, hey, you went to 8 o'clock, sorry, no can do. Like, we take this very seriously. Watercross is one of the hardest sports in the world, easily, to do. Because one, you have to find a pond, then two, that you gotta go through all these regulations and whatnot. So we take it super, super, super seriously.
Tony, you got anything to add?
No, I agree with John. I think, adding your mitigation steps to the permit application would go a long way, I think, especially for all the abutters. Especially putting in there, must notify all abutters within whatever distance, whatever radius. We can help come up with that, but,
Tyler?
I guess same thing, yeah, that, the practicing, and again, I don't even think it's your fault. If you weren't there before they were doing this on their own, I mean, that's a homeowner, I guess that's what they chose to do, and whatever. But I mean, I will say again that, when me and John toured it, we were surprised of, again, how many people from Nottingham were there, and surprised of how many families were there. It wasn't just, me and Tony, there was kids with them, and, I mean, I'll give you kudos for all that. It was run very well inside the facility when we were there. So, and again, I want to see you guys succeed, but again, I understand what all these people are saying too. So.
I do too, absolutely, and that's why I call it physical side of notifications, I failed in that aspect. I mean, I could have spent half that money and, you know,
Okay, so what I'm gathering from the board here is we want to see some more detail before we
Okay.
sign off on this.
so that's not something that I can alter, so do you guys want me to send you as much as I can put on paper, then you guys just add it, like, you guys have kind of.
Yes,
Send it to
yes.
Chris?
Okay.
Yeah.
And I,
So if you plan on having this event, time is of the essence on your part.
like I said, tomorrow.
Okay. All right.
Real quick, while you guys are all here, because I think it's something that you guys all need to agree on, I'm not 100% sure, but on the application, I think the one that you guys are holding, there was talk of a second police detail,
Yep.
so. if I
Detailed
could
police
just-
officer hired for traffic control. I only see, it only mentions one officer here.
No,
Okay.
just, it leaves it to the PD to direct what, you know, what they want.
What's required.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so that's up to the PD to tell you what they want for.
And I would totally leave that to the chief to decide.
Okay, I only want to bring it back to this level because in racing, like, I mean, we took every dime that was left over and donated it today. Or I signed my check today. I don't know if Tammy dropped it off or not. I know she's on vacation in Salisbury right now, but
To the New Hampshire Food Bank?
yeah, to the Nottingham Food Bank.
Oh, even better.
There's no money, that donation was, we created a race, I don't know if you guys were there for it, but we did right-hand ovals, everybody goes left, we did right-hand ovals. All the registrations that entered it, half of it went to the food bank. That was basically, the racers know this is donation, so,
But that doesn't address
It does
the
a lot.
original topic of a police detail.
yes it does, I'm getting to that, there's no money.
To pay for the second police detail.
There's no money to, I mean, I paid it for a police detail and an ambulance detail today. The original police detail was for traffic control, there was 0 traffic. And then for crowd control, we have exactly 22 employees. And those are employees, they're not volunteers, they're all paid. So the only reason why I say that is because if we have to invest another $1,200 and do a second police detail, I'm gonna lose half of those employees, and then it's not gonna, potentially could not run as smooth as it did with,
All due respect, Steve, I'm not buying that you're going to lose half of your staff if we add a police detail. But again, as I mentioned already, I would refer to Chief Gunner.
absolutely, I didn't know if that was coming from you guys.
That comes from the chief. He makes up.
No, the second police detail, that's why, the only reason why I mentioned it.
Well, the chief also, Officer Alvarez, I was there, who we actually spoke to, you know, had recommendations that he was gonna put forth to the chief. So the chief should have recommendations from the officer on duty that day of what he thought. So
again, we would-
we're not privy to, didn't see it, that I'm sure should be in a record of his detail of the day.
Okay, that's all I wanted to mention.
Okay. I appreciate your time. Thank you, everybody. We're closing it right now, so, thank you.
very much for
Yeah. So, is Bonnie here now, or
No, she didn't wanna come.
she didn't want to come?
I'll go get them.
Okay. Thank you.
Bonnie's not coming?
No, or she's outside, didn't wanna come in the office.
Oh, okay.
She wrote on that email, did you read the email?
Oh, yeah, but I thought you were saying she wasn't coming at all.
But,
Yeah, I got it.
take a break.
We're not done yet.
But we're shrinking, so.
Quick drink while you can.
I'm making notes on this, which I'll give you, Chris,
Please.
just to show, you know, having them put Friday night at 6 to 8, that's it, or 6, or,
Whatever 2 hours they want.
that's it.
Yep. Yeah.
And then they still have Saturday,
I don't
Sunday,
even
but
know if it
Saturday's
goes
not gonna
6 to
start
8,
at
it
9,
goes
it
like
starts
5
at
to
10. It's an 8-hour event, not a 9-hour event,
Oh, Bonnie did come in.
so we can,
Yeah, that's all I'm looking for, is that,
yeah, more details, I totally understand
Yeah.
where you're coming from. It
Yeah,
just
yeah.
was-
Right. The detailed plan that we can,
Should put it that way.
we
that
can
we
hold them
have as the,
against.
as the plan of record.
I got you.
I've been in here.
I don't, very interesting.
You all want to come up a little closer, and you stay far enough apart and be, all in a circle somehow, does that work?
Bonnie's got a loud voice, I'm sure we can hear her.
You don't love me, I got a big, I got a
don't
big
want to shoehorn
voice.
at the table, but at the same time, I don't want to,
I'm fine.
You correct us if we're wrong.
Okay.
I have one of these. We did.
I did not. And I sent you another letter.
Here, Laura, you wanna come over here and we'll back up here? I'll listen.
Well, welcome. Thank you for coming.
Thank you for having us. So, where shall we start?
Wherever you like, Bonnie.
Election.
Yeah.
This is elections, yes. So, is there someone else here? Yeah, Lori. So Dee probably has a piece and Lori probably has a piece? You might. As you well know, we have a lot of complications this year due to the COVID virus. And most of us have been attending nonstop meetings with, starting out with the Secretary of State's Select Committee on running polling places in the time of the COVID virus. And those meetings were 3 times a week, 2 to 5 hours a session. They were grueling. And then, since then, we've been meeting bi-weekly and now weekly with, usually with Dave Scanlon and the Secretary of State's in-house attorney, and usually Nicholas Chong-Yen, who is the Assistant Attorney General in charge of elections, under, of course, Gordon MacDonald, or what is his name? The Attorney General, is he Gordon MacDonald still? Chris, yeah. So, he's the guy, but Nick Chong-Yen does all the heavy lifting for the elections. And so a lot of what we are dealing with has been evolving. As more information about the virus becomes available, and the legislature is sometimes in emergency sessions making new laws or trying to, and the governor's either accepting them or vetoing them. We're just kind of on the hot seat here waiting to see what kind of guidance they're giving us. We have some things resolved, and we have guidance from the state epidemiologist. We've had one session with him, and we have another this week. So we have to deal with social distancing at the polling place. We have to deal with masks at the polling place. It's the school policy. It would also be my policy if it were not the school's policy, because all of the science points to the fact that masks save lives or prevent the spread of the virus. And the state epidemiologist, Dr. Chan, is that his name? Benjamin Chen? Also thinks that it also protects the wearer some as well. But it's kind of the opposite of seatbelts, which protect the driver. These protect you from giving it to somebody else, so it's like protecting them from your car instead of protecting you from an accident you might have. It's protecting you from hurting someone else. So that would be my reasoning for thinking that masks are necessary from what's known now. We have been in contact with the school. Dee and I went to a school board meeting kind of without Chris's total maybe knowledge. That was a little glitch, which we were sorry about, but we have procured the school for the primary, and we already had it scheduled for the general. So we will be using the school and the resources of the school. I think that it will be very important for us to have all of you present at the elections, which you're required to be anyway. The previous Attorney General allowed a quorum of selectmen to be present. I don't know what your attorney tells you, but this Attorney General says everybody has to be present. The Constitution doesn't say a quorum. It says the selectmen shall be present, as shall the moderator.
So Bonnie, what's the process going to look like this year?
It's going to be a little cumbersome. It's going to be like a dress rehearsal. because we've not done it before. We're going to have to distance voting areas, like usually we would fit, 7 people at a table like this, and now we could do maybe 2. People have to be 6 feet apart. Ditto for the staffing. We're going to need people to wipe down doorknobs, voting booth shelving, even though we're going to give people, excuse my ink on my fingers, we're going to give people a large piece of paper to take into the voting booth with them that they'll put on that shelf. That'll protect it some from any germs people have. And then they will use it to wrap it around their ballot like that. So they have privacy, because it's going to be a 2-sided ballot. We don't usually have 2-sided ballots. And a lot of people will come up to the vote count machine with it upside down, so that the nosy moderators and clerks that are there are not able to see who they voted for. So that'll give them that privacy protection that they will lose from it being a 2-sided ballot. So it's going to look like a polling place, only distanced. Everybody distanced. The lines will have to be distanced. We're going to have outside voting. It's a part of the absentee process for people who for medical reasons, don't wish to wear a mask or can't, or people who don't wish to. They can vote in a drive-up kind of situation. I'm envisioning 3 probably tent-like things. I've discussed this with Chris. Apparently we have them somewhere in the town inventory, like so that the clerk, there has to be a moderator out there and a clerk out there, and possibly a voting area, but many people will vote just in their car. And these people will keep the ballots in like a temporary ballot box, probably one of the wooden ones. Somebody will be guarding it. I would like to have a cop there and one inside all day, if possible. I think that has to be ordered from you people, so that people are always more polite when the police are around. We have very good peacekeeping police here. So those are my main things that we get, your cooperation as far as workers that day. We're not really sure how many people we're going to need to do everything. We're going to need all the normal people, probably. We don't have an enormous number of absentee requests yet. Lori can talk about that. She's the one who has those numbers. I was hoping that 60 or 70% of people would vote absentee when this all began, but it doesn't look like that's going to come anywhere near that.
So in one of the PowerPoints that you sent that I think came from the Secretary of State's office, it talked about, I think there was a recommendation about screening people as they're coming in.
I think the one I sent you is from Dr. Chan.
Correct, right.
And he's the state epidemiologist. He's not the Secretary of State, but he was working in concert with them.
Sure.
And not everything that he recommended do they agree with. I mean, we deal with.
So is that something that you're going to be considering or doing?
Screening the ballot clerks?
No, I thought the way I read it was that
Screening, it's screening staff.
Oh, was it staff?
It's screening
Okay,
staff,
okay,
yeah.
thanks.
It's basically having them fill out a questionnaire, which I kind of started working on, something that they can fill out, similar to what we would do with the Lake Coast. They fill it out in the morning. If they answer a yes to anything, they call us and let us know that they can't come.
Got it.
Okay. So, yeah.
That's what I thought it was, voters coming in.
Yeah, no, that would be a nightmare.
That's why I was asking.
Yeah. So a couple of things that I wanted to add to what Bonnie said. We spent an enormous amount of time talking about what towns needed for workers and for voters, so that people felt safe when they came came to vote. And so they've come up with a lot of different things, and I know that Gunner's already been in touch with the state to figure out how to get what they've allocated to us here, because he has to go pick it. They're doing it regionally, and he has to go pick it up and whatever, would store it. And everything that they're sending is for the primary and for November for the general, and they're not sending enough. What they've allocated for us.
What are you talking about allocated? Like what is this
So
material?
hang on, I'll tell you. So what they've allocated is not enough. Here's what they're sending. They're sending plexi shields that stand on the table for 11 of them, for ballot clerks, supervisors, town clerk, moderator, the different people that have close contact with people. 2 different types of masks, face shields. Every voter gets their own pen, and they leave with their pen. So the ballot clerks, when they're checking everybody else, then are gonna hand them a pen. And then they're gonna hand them this placemat. And then they're gonna hand them, one of 2 ballots. And then, so that they're gonna go vote, and then they're gonna come through, they're gonna put their ballot, oh, and if they're undeclared, I think there was another, if they're undeclared, they're gonna hand them a slip of paper for them to be able to return to undeclared. So they're gonna carry all of this stuff to wherever there is they're voting, and then they're gonna carry it all the way to the ballot box and everything. We're gonna need something for, or a place for recycling for all of these papers. Ask them to take their pens and everything with them, but then also a place for them to put the return to undeclared forms.
Can I jump in about the pens?
Yeah,
I think we discussed the fact that they haven't sent enough for both elections.
correct.
And can we not save those pens in a bucket and just put
Well-
them in the back room for 2 months, and then the
Right, so
COVID virus
then-
doesn't survive more than a few hours?
Right, so then do we need another a box for people to drop their pens in for the next election? So it's a lot of stuff that we have to train the ballot clerks on, of all of these extra things.
Yep.
Because then the other thing that they're gonna allow people to do, if somebody comes and they're, registered as a Democrat and they wanna vote Republican or vice versa, oh, don't worry about it, you can do that, you can make that change. Here, fill out this form, and now they can mark that on the checklist. Well, that's typically not allowed. The only reason they're even doing it is because most town offices were closed when the deadline was. So it's kind of an out for people, but it's one more thing. So there's so many different things that, physical things that are gonna have to get up to the school and then come back and not get broken because we have to use them again and things like that. There's been so many moving parts to this whole thing. And they're supposed to be doing a training for the ballot clerks, but that's a state training. Then we have to do our own training and try to figure out what our physical space looks like so that we can, talk to them. Usually there's 2 people at a table. Now we're gonna have to put them at, ends and make sure that they know that they need to stay apart and all of those things.
So it's the day after Labor Day, right?
Yeah.
So, I know it stinks, but, is there an advantage to setting up a little bit early and then trying to do some training in the actual site the day before? And again, I know it's Labor Day, so I know that.
It's Labor Day weekend, so it'd be hard to get people there unless we did it on the Thursday before, and then we're probably in the middle of the school schedule.
Right.
It's probably not gonna
So,
work.
Chris, did you say something about maybe we could set up on Friday?
It's looking like we can set up on Friday because there's nothing scheduled in the school over the weekend.
Yeah, that's what I was
We have to
wondering.
wait for the school day to end and then the gym floor to get covered and,
Yep.
so it's gonna be a Friday evening affair,
Yeah.
likely. But
Better than the holiday.
Yeah,
Yeah, well, we're still, we're gonna need some muscle because all of our employees are gone.
Yeah.
And, Friday afternoons in particular, we have nobody scheduled that we would typically have here. So we're gonna need a lot of help on
I'm
that.
on vacation the entire week leading up to that, so anything I can do at any
Great,
point.
but you still can't get into school.
No, I understand, but just,
3 or 4.
Yep.
Talk about not enough shields for, they're being sent.
So they're sending plenty of face shields, it seems, but the tabletop shields, they're only sending 11. Which for the primary, I don't see an issue with, because we're not gonna be using extra supervisors for that. But if we, for the general, need to break the list up into more than, you think of the last couple of general elections that we've done, we've broken the list up into 6 parts. Well, they're sending us enough equipment to break it up into 2 parts. We can scrape by and break it up into 3, but that could create some very long lines. So I did some research to see how much these tabletop things cost. And they're not expensive. They're less than $50 each, but the earliest shipping date is October 31st from China.
ooh,
They're not gonna get here. So we may need to look at, can we build something? And you can get the pieces that slide, just a piece that actually has holes on the top that hang from the ceiling that a lot of places are using. But we would need something that could sit on a table so that we could break our checklist up, because the faster we can get people out of there, the better off we all are. So that's the challenge. That's that piece of the challenge.
Some schools are getting them for separating desks for students. Is Nottingham doing that by any chance?
Well, so I don't know. I was gonna reach out to Christine Davrio and ask her, because I thought, because Ruth Ann and I were talking about that maybe we could borrow some of the schools.
Yeah.
As long as, because they're gonna be cleaning stuff anyway, so maybe we could borrow some that they, might have, if they're even able to get them.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, that is one thing that we had talked about. So that is one, significantly weak point. And registration is, people spend a lot of time with us. The face-to-face time is long with registration. With ballot clerk, they see lots of people, but it's quick. And we sometimes spend, 10, 15 minutes with someone as supervisors when we're registering people. Again, the primary, the last primary, we registered 9 voters, new voters. The last general, we registered almost 400. So, but using the appointment stuff, that's been working great for us. We registered over 100 people in the last 2 months just by using the appointments. That's working out really well for us. Back to you, Bonnie.
I think you covered most things. Lori, do you have?
So I looked at the school's website last week, and they said that they do have a plexiglass shields, that the teacher's gonna have one and the students are gonna have one. So there is a possibility we can borrow that.
Yep.
The absentee ballots, probably twice as much as normal for a primary. But they're coming in earlier. I don't know, maybe everyone's applying at the beginning. I don't know if I have to come in towards the end. But I ordered enough supplies for them. I hope I don't run out of ballots. That's.
Hey, Lori, if somebody's doing absentee ballot and rather than mailing it, they want to drop it off, does that have to be, is that on an appointment basis, the way that you're doing anything else?
If they want to come in and register to vote, or get an absentee ballot, apply for one, or drop it off, no appointment necessary.
Anytime, okay, cool.
Anytime she's open.
No, that's what I meant. Yeah, anytime you're open.
They only can give it to the town clerk. They
Yep.
can't-
Okay. No, I understand. I meant anytime you're open.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
So the outside piece is part of the absentee process. It already exists in the law that we can serve people outside. So that's the tack I'm taking. Since the procedure is already in place, it requires the presence of a moderator. It'll be an assistant moderator who has to give everybody an oath, and a deputy clerk.
So if they have to give an absentee ballot to the town clerk, then outside, who do they give it to?
They're going to give it to the outside deputy clerk, who will
You can
keep them, they can
deputize
keep them
somebody today.
in a box,
Got it.
and bring them in when they have batches of them. They don't have to run in with every single one. And we don't know if we're going to have a lot of people or a few people. It's hard to know. All of this is hard to know. We don't know how many absentee requests we're going to get. We just don't know.
And we can do the same thing with new registrations. If they don't want to wear a mask, we'll be able to send somebody outside to help them fill out their applications and everything else, and then bring them to us.
Don't we have some shields that you wear around your
We
head?
do. We have
So
all cases of them.
I don't envision myself, for example, necessarily needing my own desk shield. I could share one with Lori probably, because people don't talk to us that much during an election.
Well, we won't allow them to. They like to say.
They're not supposed to. We can shush them through. The other things that I'm contemplating are, should I allow children into the polling place? I don't have to. I always have. And it's not recommended this time around, but the people of Nottingham are used to being able to bring their kids in. I don't know if you guys have any thoughts on it. I could use some guidance on that one.
It's your call, right?
It's my call.
You just looking for our opinion?
Yeah, I'm looking for your opinion. I think if somebody shows up and they have no other way to deal with their children,
Yeah, but strongly recommend they don't bring them.
we strongly recommend they don't bring them, right?
There you go.
And then if
So
they
there should be a
do,
mailing, right? That goes out
that
or
should be on the
something?
mailing, yeah.
That, then put it in there, we recommend you do not bring your children.
But that's,
Right,
that's,
but if you have, we recommend, so
Right,
it's not saying we
right,
do, you can't.
Right.
Because if somebody's stuck, I mean, they want to go vote every guy. I mean,
But the expectation would be that the kids would have masks as well.
yeah, so anybody over 2 should have a mask.
Yep,
Yeah.
yep. So I would
Anybody in
just-
the
I would
school
state
has to
that.
have a mask. That's
I would
the
state
school
that if
policy.
you're doing in a mailing.
Yeah, well, we talked to Chris a little bit about the mailing, that, you know, Bonnie's gonna have a short blurb, I'm gonna have a short blurb, Laura's gonna have a short blurb, and then,
We're
you know,
gonna, we're gonna
school
use the
information.
Deerfield one as kind of a guide because they did a great job, only it's way too long. Theirs is
Yeah.
like 8 pages.
God, I wish we had enough time to have like a setup and do a video of the process. That would be,
Yeah, well, actually, to go back to your question about training the ballot clerks too, is, I'm working right now at, doing components so that they can go in and they can watch how to do each piece. And then we'll do a Zoom meeting for questions and to be able to go over things and everything else like that as well.
The September primary probably acts as a dry run for the Big Mama.
yeah, of
Right,
course.
exactly.
So-
Dress rehearsal.
We could do it, we could do
You
a
may be able to
video.
use the, you know, we're gonna, obviously, we're gonna learn something, we're gonna change something between September and November, but it's feeling like it's gonna, what we're deciding now is probably gonna play in November as well,
So we could even try to do a video of it
Sure, yeah.
and just, you know, see if it helps us for November.
What's the turnout difference typically between September and November? Is it 3 to 1?
21% versus 80%.
Yeah, so 3 to 1, 4 to 1 difference in.
I think this is gonna be like the Obama election, as far as
Yeah, the
turnout.
wild card is the absentee count. so-
Yeah, true, yeah, yeah.
You're talking
That's
about
the
the,
wild
and the number in November? Yeah.
So the mailing, that was a good segue to it, was something that we haven't discussed yet, but that's something we're gonna look to the town office to really put together and get out the door. We're gonna work on the pieces of it and get it to Chris. I think we promised by the end of this
By the
week.
end of this week, yeah.
I have not, Chris.
I want it now. Yeah, we're just gonna do a bulk, mailing with, I mean, we're effectively, with your blessing, switching the location of the polling place, so we really need to notify everybody of that.
Yeah.
Hours, you know, there's so many different things that are just gonna feel new to people, we're just gonna blast that out. Hopefully in time to leave time for absentee ballot applications, it's gonna have some, you know, some information there, so we can give people time to go. You can do that right up to the last minute.
Monday I have to
Right.
be here, on Labor
But-
Day I have to be here.
To really goose the absentee process, you really need some lead time to do it well.
Yep.
So we're
Yep.
gonna we'll probably have that out next week. That'll be in the mail.
Yes.
We're gonna blow the doors off the election budget, just so you know. We don't know how. Something's gonna screw it up.
I hope that some of it will be, you'll be able to get back from the
Yeah,
state.
I mean, we'll.
There's some money
We'll recover some of that.
for things that are special for
They shipped us
COVID.
A whole bunch of supplies. so,
supposedly.
You know, we're not spending money on, you know, they're gonna send us, what, 3,000 pens and, you
Right.
A bunch of shields.
know, a bunch of stuff, but.
Okay.
I think we should each have a full suit of armor, like a knight. We'd be safe then.
So my only other question is, because I am I'm spatially challenged and I need to be in a space, is getting up to the school and measuring some stuff. And getting some ideas of how far apart things are and, you know, layouts and things like that, sooner rather than later.
Yeah, they're there, so we can go,
Okay,
we can go anytime.
okay.
You can measure to your heart's content.
Okay.
I had one other thought, but it's left my head.
Oh, there's gonna be no food.
Oh, that's what I was gonna say. I'm not allowing, that was it, thank you. So, I'm not allowing any lunch, any food. People, workers will have to bring their own food. And any kind of promotions that we normally have at an election, like the 300 anniversary people and the people who sell raffle tickets to quilts and The Conservation Commission, the Historic Society's already asked me, and I'm saying no to everybody. You can't do it on this election. We want as few people around as possible, and we want people that have to come in and get out as quickly as possible. So it's a weird year, that's all.
And we're gonna use the cafeteria for workers to be able to socially distance, take breaks, keep their stuff in there, take their, have their lunches in there and things like that.
That's another point, actually, though, is I think we need to allow our workers more breaks than normal, so they can go outside and get these things off for a few minutes and, breathe some real air. I don't remember what the air is like in the school at that time of year. I don't think we've ever had an election in there when it wasn't kind of cold out. I don't know if they have air conditioning.
There's no air conditioning in the gym, so we're gonna have to put the fans in the doors again.
Right.
I was wondering, can you think about the flow of people coming in and out and, kind of like have them come in the front door and then go out one of the back doors
Yes,
of the
that's
gym?
exactly what we'll
Even
do.
if they have to go back
Probably
around
through the
building?
cafeteria and out that door, yes.
Well,
Up to the playground?
we talked about sending them out the short door to the playground.
Except for the handicap, that's kind of...
Except for the
Of
handicap,
course.
right, yeah. Because the handicap, we're gonna use that closer entrance anyways.
Right.
So, but yeah, that way people, the general public are not walking through the area of the break room
Yeah,
that we're
yeah.
using for all the staff and everything. They can just use that little hallway to go out to the playground.
Yep,
Yeah, and yeah, definitely a one-way flow.
my flow.
Yeah,
Yep.
Anything else, Bonnie?
that's all I can think of at the moment. We're still getting information from the state, so, things are not necessarily cast in stone right
Yeah,
now.
they haven't sent us the official guidance, the joint guidance that they usually send us. They promised that to us in the middle of July. They haven't sent us, and we don't have the,
Supposedly the manuals aren't out
the
yet.
the election procedure manual. That's been updated. We haven't even seen that yet. So they are so far behind in, getting some of this to us that we're gonna be flying by the seat of our pants a bit for this one.
Yeah, dress rehearsal.
Yep.
Okay.
So it really is only very recently that we've even been able to make some idea of what kind of plan we're gonna have, are we gonna make people wear masks, are we gonna do this, are we gonna do that? We had to wait for them to pontificate, if you will.
Okay. Well,
So I
thank you.
think the plan that we have is legal. I've run it by Nicholas Chong Yen, I've run it by Bud Fitch, who's the in-house attorney. They all recommend that we run it by our own attorney too, by the way, but I've talked to Chris about that. Maybe I should have a session with him in a week or 2 or 3 before we pull the curtains back.
Okay. Well, thank you again for coming.
You're welcome.
All right, thanks.
Thanks, guys. It's been a long night for you, hasn't it?
Very long night.
Okay. So, moving on to the next, review action items for next meeting.
We had a letter that came to the select board. That was on an email.
Email in regards to
Condition of building.
condition of the building.
Do we want to talk about that in public, non-public, or do we want to go?
I don't know, well,
We don't have
I
to.
just don't want to see it go unaddressed.
Yeah,
What?
yeah, I don't see how it fits in non-public
Okay,
either.
we could be talking about a town employee, so that's why I don't know.
oh, well, that would be non-public, yeah.
All right, so that's why I don't know.
Well, there's a way we could discuss it without including that person, right?
If we want to go through the thing, I'm just, again,
We've got another thing to do, depending on how much time I'm gonna spend on it in non-public under A, that other package that I sent you.
Yep.
So if you want to go in non-public, we can
All
bounce
right.
around both.
Do we want to talk about anything for the next meeting for review action items, anything?
So one thing, I don't want to discuss it tonight because of the time,
Right.
but going back to Teresa Bascom's visit here at the last meeting
Yep.
and the comments that she made, I do think that we should put on the agenda at some meeting upcoming about how we're going to approach, or if we're going to approach coming up with standards, road standards.
Okay. Yeah? Tyler?
Yeah.
Okay.
town road standards.
Okay. I'm good with that. As long as it's constructive and we're actually moving towards some sort of resolution. You know, as we all know, this is a hot topic item. And unfortunately, it's still in the court's hands, so.
Like I said, I think that the results of every town meeting that take place from next year on are gonna be completely different than it's been the last
They are.
100 years.
Absolutely.
People are gonna dare to vote from whatever, they're not.
I just don't want to get sidetracked. I don't want that to be the, you know, there's a lot of other business that needs to be taken care of as far as the town goes, but, I mean, that topic is important as well. So, I mean, it does need to be addressed, but I don't want that to be the sole thing that we work on as well. So I think we've all been doing this long enough to be able to handle more than just one particular subject.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, that being said, I guess we can add that to, at some point talking about it. If nobody has anything, are we ready to make a motion to go in non-public?
Which one we going under, eh?
Hey,
I'll make a motion that we enter non-public session under RSA 91-A:3, section 2A.
Second.
we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
We're gonna do a roll call.
Roll
Roll
call.
call
Aye,
vote.
Ben Bartlett.
Hi, Donna Danus.
Hi, Tony Dumas.
Hi, John Warren.
Forgot the alphabet.
Thank you, Nottingham. Have a good night.